Hey everybody, this is Joshua Kenny Greenwood. I am the senior pastor and the overseer here at the Empowerment Center Church, churchfreedom.org. I am also the author of this book called The Corporation Soul, Freeing America's Pulpits from the Restrictive 501c3 Laws for Churches. Today we actually got a question. I'm actually going to read it from my computer here. It says, is the corporation soul required to receive its tax-exempt status from the IRS? We're going to say no on this. The book actually explains this. We're going to say no because we've had attorneys, and there are legal scholars out there that have even posed the question or even debate of the question of or an argument to be made that the corporation soul could be interpreted as an integrated auxiliary of a church. We know that we've defined it. We've classified it as a title in an office. We like to say that when it operates, it is the exclusively religious activities of a religious order that is within a church. But there's an argument to be made with the First Amendment of the Constitution, where it says very specifically that Congress shall make no law in respect to any religious denomination. That's why atheists fight all the time for the separation of church and state. If the church wants the corporation soul to be defined as an integrated auxiliary, then who is the state to say that it is not an integrated auxiliary? Now I have to ask that question. By what authority, what law was created by Congress, passed by the Congress, ratified by the Senate, signed off by the President of the United States of America, that gives the federal government, that currently compels the church not to define the corporation soul as an integrated auxiliary, and therefore be mandatorily exempted in that capacity? That there's an argument to be made there, just like the arguments of the church establishment affidavit. It's considered right until it's proven wrong in a court of law, and so that is a stance that we are. That's a position that we're taking. We're taking that we're going to go ahead and say the answer is no, and we're going to stand behind that legal that legal argument. And the fact is that there is a extremely valid legal argument in relationship to the corporation soul and its statutory authority under 501c3, and what authority or jurisdiction 501c3 really actually has, considering that it's also considered a natural person. And a natural person is defined as an individual, and that's pursuant to Black's Law Dictionary 9th edition. Go look up the definition, the actual definition for both natural person and individual. It's literally the exact same meaning. There's no difference in the descriptions, but that's important because in the ruling of Hale versus Henkel of 1906, U.S. Supreme Court Chief Justice Melville Fuller brought out a ruling describing the powers of an individual. But at the same time, he also describes a corporation. And yet the corporation soul is both in one. It's simultaneously incorporated through the Secretary of State. So it's incorporated. So it does fall under 501c3, but yet it still is recognized as a natural person when conducting business or any type of related transaction or activity on behalf of the church. So there's a real argument to be made when the church organizes itself under that 501c3. I mean, not under 501c3. Forgive me for saying that. When it organizes itself under a church establishment affidavit, and actually lawfully, creates that jurisdiction. The church does, not me as an individual. It wasn't Joshua that agreed to this. It was me and a whole bunch of other people on our affidavit that established the Empowerment Center, that established these claims that we're making. This is a church making those claims, and so the IRS as or anyone else, any agency, would have a very difficult time that didn't like the church engaging in activities that they didn't like, whether it was reporting their existence or whether or not it was engaging. There's a real argument to be made that the corporation sole is not required to file a Form 1023 from the Internal Revenue Service informing them of a tax exemption status of its existence. So that's where we stand. That's a religious freedom that we stand on as a church. That's an argument that we make. It's through the book. You're more than welcome to go contact a tax attorney or a CPA to hear what their thoughts are. I would recommend that they get the book first, so at least they have a basis of understanding, because I'm going to guarantee you that they probably don't know anything about the corporation sole, because they don't teach about it in law school or seminary school or Bible college or literally anything. So the only thing they look at, if they look it up on Google, is just that, like, there's a bunch of scam artists out there that used to peddle it, you know, for individuals to use as tax shelters. That's not what we do here, and that's not anything what we advocate. The only people we ever advocate that can use a corporation sole are churches, not individuals. Churches. Church, that's more than one person. That's a group of people. That's a congregation of people coming together, signing an affidavit, declaring their existence without having to get incorporated. Then isolating the corporation sole to the title and the office within the church. So now the pastor has two titles, a senior pastor, okay, and the office of the corporation sole to manage all the church's financial assets. Completely does away with the board. So there's no board of trustees anymore. All that's gone. All the reporting arguments. So, folks, this is some pretty extensive stuff. Get the book, because this is some pretty powerful stuff. We've been helping set the church freedom and what we represent and the argument and what the corporation sole is ramming the bush. That literally, I mean, there's 8 states left in the country that even have active corporate sole laws. Like, I'm not joking, folks. You literally need to get this. This will free your ministry, not only from 501c3, it'll free your church from 501c3. This thing's going to help you to guard against the gender laws that are presently in the world right now. So this is you got to get this. Get this for your church. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have a question, ask it in the comment box. Ask it there. We might go ahead and make you super famous on YouTube, if that's possible, if people look up enough corporation sole, and to answer that on our YouTube channel. So subscribe, share it with your friends, and spread the love. Spread the love of church freedom. Let's help set churches free from 501c3. Thank you so much, and God bless. And if you are a member of the federal government, just know that I love you. I love you. The church doesn't have to fight against you. We love you. We don't like lawmakers making laws that are really bad against the church. We don't like manipulation and injustice. And I'm pretty certain that politicians don't like the church wanting to completely influence politics, to vote them out of office overnight, and team up together under the table and coordinate and be able to completely influence politics in nearly any direction that the church wants to. We don't want to go there. We want lawmakers to love and respect the church and to leave us alone in that regard, to not try to create gender laws that bind our ability and threaten us into officiating gay marriage, okay? That threaten us and Christian business owners and their livelihoods. If they don't want to bake a cake for a homosexual wedding, that's their religious freedom of expression. They have the right to do that. But under gender laws, they don't. And so this is why the church is even being compelled to even go in this direction. If 501c3 didn't exist, we wouldn't even have to worry about this. Why do politicians have to worry? Listen, if they're righteous and above reproach, why do they got to worry about the church engaging in politics? They don't have to worry, because the church will always support a righteous man or woman that wants to serve the public through love. That's what we're here to do. We're here to support and lift these people up. It's only when they're not righteous do they have to worry and create laws like 501c3 to make churches not want to get in politics. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And by the time, it doesn't matter. This is the argument. It's a really good argument too. We hope that we never have to make the argument in court, because if we ever have to go to court, God showed me we're already going to win if we ever go there, because God's on our side. And if anybody is a juror and they're a Republican and they have God in their heart, we're going to win. I'm just going to let you know, we're going to win. And so we're going to make sure everything is above reproach in our lives. We're going to make sure that not a single solitary thing that can bring forth any wickedness or any foothold is going to make sure that in my life, why do you think we're talking to tax attorneys right now? We're talking to every tax attorney that we can, just to make sure that every single solitary I was dotted, every T was crossed, everything in our lives since my wife and I have been married, okay, to make sure that everything is completely and utterly above reproach. Because this argument is so important to my brothers and sisters in Christ that we're willing to go that extra mile over here. We're willing to go there to make sure that that we can stand in a place, and we could stand and say that we stood with diligence, righteousness, and everything was above reproach. So just know this, that our hearts don't want to be here. We want this to be righteous. We want lawmakers to be righteous. We want people everywhere to be righteous. And we actually believe that when they're walking in righteousness and love, government absolutely works. It works all the time. It can work. It works in the most desperate times, in the darkest of times, when we need it the most. And the only reason God is even making this argument, even the only reason why he ordered me, commanded me to even write this book, was because he said that time was of the essence. So even if your heart's not in a bad place, and even if the current law isn't as bad as where we think it can be, God obviously is seeing something in the future that we're not seeing, and he's saying that it's so necessary that he's willing to make that argument that powerful and know he'll win, just to make sure that there's a remnant that has that freedom. That's powerful stuff. And God has never led me to say this like this before. So this is really intentional. God must have a very powerful purpose to say this much in a video, knowing that someone eventually someday would see it. And it was broadcast on this day, August the 28th at 5:02 p.m. Okay, on a, what is it, Lord, what day is this? Is it Thursday? Wow. Then on a Thursday, that we can talk about this, talk about this very, very important topic. We're not here to be an enemy against the government. We're here to love them. We're here to serve them with excellence through love. But we really feel like we're getting our rights violated right now. And it's not just me. There's churches you have no understanding that do not like what we see that's coming. We see the gender laws and we see gay rights being used as a tool that's not really promoting freedom. We see it being used as a tool to restrict our freedoms of our religious expression. And we respect that they have individual rights. In fact, I would actually love it if we didn't have to have the fights or debates about gay marriage or gay rights in this country, or hate crimes legislation to begin with. I honestly wish we all had love in our hearts. I wish we loved each other like we loved ourselves. So much so that you love so much, we wouldn't even have to have these laws. Literally, who would care? Because we would love each other so completely like Christ that we would totally overlook everything. That's honestly the heart of love that I want the church to have. When we speak to pastors and leaders, that's how I want them to be as they go behind the pulpit, and when they preach and when they steer the hearts of the men and women that are in those congregations, because that's incredible influence that we're talking about here. That's nothing to play around with. We're talking about stuff that has power here. That's nothing to be trifled with. And so when we talk to those pastors and we sow that seed to help, as the Holy Spirit creatively leads them to that place where we're seeing the righteous, the folks that have love and the folks that don't, that are there to serve the public. Folks, this is not to be used as a weapon in a bad way. It's not to be used as anything. This is supposed to be love, that our hearts are directed by love. And we want people that are going to serve us as Americans, serve us as proud Americans. That if we're going to be proud and we're going to strive to be the best citizens and the best innovators, the best leaders for this next generation of humanity. And we're going to help those societies that don't have the internet. They don't have the same level of knowledge and understanding that we do. We're going to help those folks, okay? But if we're going to be there, we need to freely be able to love each other and to recognize those lawmakers that have that love. They might not have the money like the guys that are full of greed do. They might not have it. Okay, they may not compromise like the other guys and take all the money. But we'll know their heart. And if we have that opportunity, and if the corporation soul can make that possible, we're going to take that argument, not from a bad place, from a good place. You want us in that place because those people are going to be fair. Those people are going to be balanced. Those people are going to have love. They're going to be motivated by love. They're not going to be motivated by parties. They're going to be motivated by love. Who wants to live in a world where people that have the authorities to manage the most destructive firepower in armies, in creation, and aircraft carriers, and fighter jets, and all the drones that we have today? Who wouldn't want the person to be in charge, the civilian in charge of that military, to be a righteous man or woman that is above reproach? Who doesn't want a righteous person that loves and that is steered and guided by the love of Christ? A perfect love. Who wouldn't want that person to be in that position, to be steered through love to make the wisest decisions possible? That they're not compromisers. Folks, this is why the church needs that ability. So I want to tell you something. If you're a government official or someone that is connected with the government in any way, shape, or form, know from our heart, the Empowerment Center's heart, that we're motivated by love. We're not motivated here to start a fight. It's necessary because God sees a time coming where a lot of people have lost love in their hearts. And you see it all around you. Look at Russia and Ukraine, China, all the lies. All the lies have got to stop. There's not a lot of love back in our world. We need love. The world needs love, and they need a righteous love. And that's why God's introducing the corporation soul. That's why it's so important that churches are set free from 501c3. That God used this as a catalyst and made the argument that's made in this book. So if you're watching this video, I know that you're watching it for one purpose, but we're actually going to leave this completely unedited. We're just going to post this as is. And we're going to leave it out there because it's very important that it's public knowledge where our heart is. And it doesn't matter where there were previous videos, and I might have been really upset in those videos. You know something? None of us in the body of Christ are above instruction, okay? And God has been really showing me how to have the heart of love of Christ, the real love of Christ. And so there are things I've preached about in the past, and if there are videos I saw that were offensive in nature, I tried to actually remove them. I've removed a ton of videos that I felt were not reflective of where God was, of the love of Christ. They were righteous indignation, but they were not spoken or directed in love, and God is really showing me right now how to have a heart of love and how to communicate that in a way to let the government know that we're not enemies. In fact, we want to be friends with lawmakers. In fact, there are lawmakers I know right now that are great men of God, great men of God, and they have to serve the public in that way. And we've got to serve, and we've got to recognize those guys and help raise those guys up and back those guys. The church really needs to be connected with those guys, because I would tell you, those connections, those are important. You want to be fanatical? Church, we don't want to be fanatical. We don't want to go out there and yell at those guys and say all that nonsense. And you know, they never want to take our phone call, and the only reason they take our appointments because they're intimidated because we're a bunch of Christians. No. We don't want that kind of relationship with those guys. We want a good relationship. We want it where we could call them up and we go out to lunch and we invite them out to lunch. We actually go. And you know something? The heart, what does it say in Proverbs 18:16? The gift makes way for the giver and ushers them into the presence of the great. If that gift of love from the church can open the heart and open the door to the heart of a lawmaker, and we can go out to lunch. Can you imagine what can happen if a seed was sown through love and the Holy Spirit, and what kind of policy can be instituted if that lawmaker can hear and have that kind of relationship with us? So folks, understand this. We're not trying to come against this from an attack standpoint. We hate the government. We're just gonna no. We're not meant to be used as a weapon against each other and against our own people. That's not what we were meant to do. We're meant to show each other love. And that's what we stand for, and that's the kind of churches that we want getting the corporation soul. That's the kind of churches we want partnering with us. If you're not that kind of church, and you're having to, if you have to compromise, and you know when you have to compromise to get a tithe and an offering, if you got to try to get this book because you're trying to hide personal taxes, or you're trying to hide assets from the federal government because you don't like them and you don't want to pay them, and you think just because you're Christian that entitles you to have a corporation soul, don't get this book. Don't get it. That's not for you. That is not for you. We don't want you buying this book. You'd be attempting to use it for its unintended purpose. We're not affiliated with that. We would never affiliate ourselves with that. But we do recognize that anybody can buy a book off Amazon. We don't know why they're buying the book, what intention they're buying it for. But it's important that you understand that if your intention is to buy that, or if you're having to compromise your message just to get tithes and offerings, you need discipleship training. You don't need this. You don't need this. You need discipleship training. You can get your heart with God. You need to get that heart of faith. You need to stand on faith, get the heart of love, and that comes through love if you're a pastor. And that was that place. I'm not accusing anyone to be in that place. I'm just asking a question. I'm just making a statement that if a person was in that place, that's not what they need to have a heart of love. Because through love, they're going to have faith. And by faith, they're going to hear. And if they're hearing, if they're at a place where they're hearing, then and they're loving, there's no condemnation. They can do no wrong. They're literally living up to 1 Timothy chapter 3, 1 through 13. Then you're ready. So that's what we're looking for. So I hope this video's helped. I totally didn't intend to make the video like this, or this message. I might actually edit some of this out and just really play the message at the end or whatever. I don't know. But there you go. So we love you. Hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye.